bring in Michael Maloof, former Senior Strategic Analyst at the Pentagon. Michael, good to see you. We know the US is sending its missile defence system, the THAAD. Can you tell us a bit more about it and what it's capable of?
Yes, the THAAD stands for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System. It's it goes about Mach 8, or 8 times the speed of sound. It doesn't carry a warhead. It's good against medium to short range incoming ballistic missiles. But the fact that it doesn't have a warhead limits its capability, particularly if Iran, for example, were to shoot a swarm of ballistic missiles at a given site. And that's precisely what they did the last time, and how the Iranians hit the Israeli military sites. So this actually requires U.S. personnel to guide it, to operate it, and it also coordinates with Patriot missiles that are already in country. That is in Israel. So there's a lot of, and so about 100 U.S. military personnel will be on the ground.
Right.
This, of course, represents a very slippery slope for U.S. involvement. So that's something to be considered.
That's right. Is there a risk that the U.S. might inflame the war, not contain it with this move?
Well, it's similar to Vietnam. We started with advisors and wound up with 500,000 troops there. Anything can happen, and that's what makes this a very, very delicate situation. And we're just entering into we're into our election period, and this is the last thing in the world that the Biden-Harris administration would want in terms of any uptick of hostilities, particularly toward U.S. assets in the region, and in particular upon U.S. personnel in the area.
Right. The White House has said that it represents their ironclad commitment to support Israel or help defend Israel. But does this commitment have limits? Would you say that ground troops could be sent to Israel if needed?
Well, they already are. Those 100 would be.
Well, those are their. I think those troops are going to operate the system. But I mean ground troops to actually actively go into Lebanon or fight Iran.
Yeah, you're talking about combat troops.
Yes.
And I would say no. I don't think there would be no purpose. That's why you're seeing Israeli troops going into southern Lebanon getting decimated in many respects. They're having a very hard time, but there's a news blackout about that, so it's not being widely reported in the West.
Right. Now, in terms of what's happening in southern Lebanon, the UN peacekeeping force says that Israeli tanks have forced their way into one of its positions, and that happened early on Sunday morning. Also, that Israeli forces fired on UN peacekeeping positions. How does the US reconcile its support for Israel if they're so concerned about it being increasingly aggressive in its attacks? Does this mean that, in terms of their ironclad commitment, they're willing to forego international human rights?
Well, they apparently have, haven't they? By giving Israel all the support that they need, and considering that the bombing, the indiscriminate bombing that Israel's been doing with using U.S. weapons systems, I think it's an acquiescence. Even though the Biden-Harris administration talks out of both ends of its mouth in terms of wanting ceasefire, wanting peace in the neighborhood, don't attack Lebanon, but they're giving them all the weapon systems. The fact that the UN was attacked, that UNIFIL was agreed to by the United Nations Security Council unanimously, and that means that Israel has absolutely openly defied international law and international norms. And the United States, which is supposed to be the caretaker and head of the rules-based order, isn't saying anything about that. Indicates to me that they don't know what to do, how to approach this, and just as they can make the rules, apparently they can break them, and this is a problem for the United States. The United States is in a very vulnerable position in the eyes of the world.
All right, Michael Maloof, we'll have to leave it there. Really appreciate your time.